Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We got a fun one for you today. We got the hero section here with this crazy alien guy and a bit of text in the middle. It's a really busy picture, and some of that text, well, it's not too bad, but it's not the easiest thing to read in the world. If I roll my mouse over it, you'll see that background's going to blur out. And you can read that background blur text and the button really easily. Take your mouse back off, it's going to come back into focus again. Great way of getting people's attention on content. People are mousing around your site and this sort of thing happens. It really does get their attention quickly. And you can apply it to all kind of different things. Down below I've just got some blurb modules with images in the background. And I've done it the opposite way. On the one on the left, it's blurred at first. Then we'll roll the mouse over it. Content disappears and brings that image into focus. And I've done the opposite on the one next door. We've got the clean image. When I roll over, it's going to blur out and bring that content up. Take your mouse off, it's going to disappear out again. Really easy to do. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. And let's just start from scratch. Let's go and put a new section in here. Little blue button to add a new section. I'm going to use a regular section from mine. In mine, I'm going to use a single row with a single column. You can use any structure you want, row-wise though. Inside that, let's just throw a call to action and add a little button. Give it a title. Now the button's not going to show up until we put a link in just down below here. There it is right there, fantastic. Let's delete this section at the top, we don't need that one anymore. Okay, so I've got a section here, the blue tab. Inside I've got a row, the green tab. I've only got one column in mind, but like I say, put as many or as few in yours as you want. I'm going to make this row a bit deeper for effect. So I'm going to go into the row, green tab. I'm going to go over to design. Sizing wise, I want to make it the exact same size as the section it's sitting in, because this is what we're going to be applying our blur effect to. So over in sizing, I'm going to drag the width slider up to 100%. I'm going to copy that, Control C, and paste it in the max width down below, Control V to paste, or you can just type it in. As you can see now, our row is the same width as our section. I want to take away any padding top and bottom in our section. I'm going to make this row as deep as I want it while we're in the sizing. So let's roll down. I'm going to use minimum height. Let's use 90 VH. Which is 90% of the viewable height of any screen. And just so you can see what the row's actually done there, let's give it a background color, make it red. So our row is now covering this much of our screen. I want to take any gap away, top and bottom. Now that gap's actually in the section. So if we save our row now, go into the section, blue tab for the section, design, spacing. Here's padding top and bottom. I don't want any padding top and bottom, so you can just put a 0 in there. Hit the chain. Now our row is covering exactly the same area as our section was. Great. Now while we're in this section, let's go ahead and put the background image in. You won't be able to see it because of our red background, but I'll take that away in a second. Background's always under content. Third tab along is background image. I'm going to hit the plus sign. There's that crazy AI image I generated. Let's upload that one. Like I say, it's in the background there. You can't see it because of the red. We'll take that away now. So we're happy with the section. We'll go back into the row, the green tab to the row, take away that red background. Hit the little trash can. And we got our little image in the background. Fantastic. Let's now go into our module and put it where we want it. So I'm going to save the row. I'm going to go into the module, the dark tab. I'm going to push it down halfway down our page by adding a bit of margin on the top. Over in design, down spacing, here's a margin. Let's try 25 viewable height, see how far that down pushes it. I think that's going to work for me. Great. And we don't want the blue background on there. Again, background always under content. We'll hit that little trash can. And let's just split that text up into a few different lines. Obviously, that's entirely up to you. Under the content in the text there, we'll I'm using Shift Enter, that way it's only by a single line. And let's split that there as well. Fantastic, that'll work for me. So what we've got now is we've got our image in the background there. We've got our nice little blurb module on top. But because that's such a busy picture, it's a little difficult to read, but we want to get their eyeballs on it. So let's apply that little blur effect. Now it's really important you apply the blur effect to the row, not the section and not the module. You can, if you want to, if you add it to the module, it's just going to blur out this little bit in the middle here. But because we've made the row and the section the same size, we can apply it to our row by going into the row, the green tab, over to Advanced, Custom CSS. I'm going to click on the Module Elements tab. I'm going to go to the main elements. I'm going to use what they call a backdrop filter. So it's backdrop dash filter with a colon. And I'm going to use blur, obviously, B-L-U-R, right at the end of the blur with no gap. We're going to put some round brackets and blur it by the amount we want. Now there's a little flag that comes up there that says unknown property backdrop filter. This does work. I've tested out on multiple browsers, Edge, Chrome, Firefox, Brave, and it seems to work absolutely fine. So let's blur it out by maybe 20 pixels. As you can see, that's blurred out our background image, but it's left our blur module nice and crisp. Now, depending on which way round you want to do it, you can have it blurred to start off with, or we can just copy this, Control C. Let's plate that to a 0, and we'll have it that way at first, and when they hover over it, we'll blur it out. So common to all Divi modules, if you roll up over the dark writing within a module, you see some little icons appear there. If there's a little arrow, there is in our case, we can click on it. We've got a desktop, that's what we're on at the moment when the mouse is not on it, and a hover tab. Click on the hover tab, that's when the mouse is on it. We'll paste that code back in there, Control V. Now when they hover over it, it's going to be blurred. We go back to desktop state where we put a 0 in there, it's going to be nice and crisp. Now the time it takes to get from one to the other is pretty much instant unless we tell it otherwise. So still on the desktop tab, I'm going to put a little semicolon on the end of there. And I'm going to use a bit of transition duration. Transition dash duration, colon, and let's give it perhaps 0.8 of a second, 0.8 s. Now when it does it, it's going to take 0.8 of a second or 800 milliseconds to go from clean to blurred. Let's just save our changes here and make sure this is going to work on the front end. Hit the little purple button, save draft or publish if you're ready, and let's exit the Visual Builder. And there's our page, there's our crisp image with that blurb module in there. When I hover over, it's blurring out. We can read that little blurb module really well. When I take my mouse off, it's going to come back into focus just like that. That's going to get people's attention pretty quickly. And it's automatically focusing in on this. Fantastic. Now, once you've done this once, it's really easy to replicate. Like I say, I did it with my little modules down here, whichever way around you want to do it. And I'll quickly show you how to apply it to a single module. It's slightly different because we've got to use the column within a row if we're using multiple rows here. So let's just re-enable the Visual Builder. Roll on down. Let's add a new row this time. I'm going to put 2 columns in it just like I've got above. Add whatever module you want. It'll work with pretty much any module. I'm going to throw a blurb module in there. Just roll it up so you can see what's going on. I'm going to switch out my image for an icon. Anyone will do. I'm going to go over, I'm going to put all my text in the middle. I'm going to make it light in color. It's going to disappear into the background there. That's okay. I'm going to add a bit of padding all around with my spacing, still in the design tab. Let's put padding all around. Let's perhaps give it, I don't know what I used above, probably 50 pixels. Just put in the 50, it'll put in the pixels. Hit the chain, it does the opposite side. And we'll do the same for left and right. Great. Okay, we're not going to put the image we want in the back of the module here. We're actually going to put the image in the column the module's in. So let's save this. To get to the column, we need to go into the row, the green tab. There's our two columns, left one, right one. We'll go into our left one. We'll add a background image. While I'm in here, I may as well add one to the next column too. Just hit your check mark. It'll take you back to the row settings. There's our second column. Let's just throw one in there also so I can show the opposite effect. Now, the reason you don't see anything, I'm saving this now. The reason you don't see anything in this one is it's actually got no content in it. Okay, well, let's make the magic happen. What do we want? Let's do clear at first and then blurb when we hover over it on this one, and we'll do the opposite on the next one. So we can go into our blurb module now, over to the advanced custom CSS, module elements tab, main element, and we can just copy the code that we use up here to do exactly the same thing. I've got it in my notepad over here, in the main element, backdrop filter blur nothing, so we've got the clean picture there, and the transition duration of 8 seconds. Then we want to get up the hover effect, and make it blurred when we hover over it, which is backdrop filter blur 20 pixels. Like I say, I've just copied this from what we did above. And for anybody that's panicking about this, don't worry, all this CSS code will be down below this video when I finish doing it. If you just need to copy and paste it. It is a good idea to get in the habit of writing CSS. Wonderful thing to learn. As you can see, we've got it. That's what we've got on blur. And this is what we've got initially. Now, I thought it'd be nice with these images if we just didn't have any content at all until they hovered over it. So we can do that. We don't need to add any more code or anything. If we go over to our design tab, we're still in our little blurb module here. We can go down to their filters. If we look down here, we've got an opacity slider. We can say initially we don't want to see any content at all. We just want to see the nice picture of that car. If we roll over, get the little arrow up on opacity, click on the hover, bring it back in on hover. When they hover on it, it's going to be blurred with that nice content. Great. And before we check that out, let's just copy this module. I'm going to hit the 2 squares to duplicate it. Drag across, drop it in here. As soon as I do that, you'll see that other image that's in the column, remember, behind. And to do the opposite with this, I'm sure you figured it out. We'll go into the blurb module, over to the advanced, to our custom CSS, module elements. Remember, it's already in there because we just duplicated this module. All I'm going to do is change that to 20 pixels, 20 px. I'm going to click on the hover state. I'm going to change that to 0. Now what we've got now, we've got the content in the wrong place, so we need to switch our blur filter around as well. To do that, back into the design. Remember, we're in our blurb. Down to filters. And there's our opacity. We're just going to switch them around the other way. We're highlighted on the hover state, so let's bring that down to 0. And the desktop state, bring that back up to 100%. Perfect. Let's save our changes there. Save the page changes. Save draft or publish if you're ready. Let's exit the Visual Builder. And there we have it. There's our little alien fella. There's our little call to action down there. When I put my mouse on it, it's going to blur out. They can read the text nice and clearly. Hit the button if they want to. When you take the mouse off, it's going to go back to how it was. That's the ones we had before. Here's our 2 new ones. There's a picture of the car. When we hover over it, it's going to blur out. And we got the content fading in. Take your mouse off, it'll go back. And the opposite for this one here, we've got our blurred image background with content. We put a mouse on it. Image is going to sharpen up, and that content disappears there. Like I say, these are wonderful things to have on a desktop site. People are mousing around, this sort of thing happens. It gets their attention really quickly, which is what you want with a website. Of course, these will work just as well on tablet and mobile, but people will have to tap on them. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them down below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video just like this one. So once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.